Yo, what's good? My name is Cryangel, and today I'm going to be breaking down how to make beautiful pluggnb midis. Alright, this is the MIDI I'm going to be breaking down for y'all today. Alright, let's get into it. So this looks super complex to start off, so I actually broke it down into the chords. So this is what the finished chords look like, and then this is what they started as. So we're going to start from here. This isn't going to be like a theory lesson. Let me know if you guys want that, maybe in the future or so. But yeah, I'm just going to go off some basic theory. I'll get rid of these bass notes here. All right, so first I started off with this chord here. I just kind of laid it down, stamped it down. You know, it sounds cool. It's a major sixth chord, I believe, which is, you know, note, skip, note, skip, note. Instead of doing skip note like this, you just drop this one down. It sounds cool, but there's no like body to it. You know, it just seems kind of thin. So I layered these two notes here and I dropped them down an octave, like so. And then I came over here to the stamp tool. I went to advanced and I grabbed this 13 chord. And this 13 chord is super beautiful. It has like a little bit of tension, a little bit of like color to it, right? That's what it sounds like, right? So I just stamped it down. I heard this F not change between the chords, if that makes sense. I heard this chord and I heard that F play again. So I just stamped it down and then moved it around until this F was right here. And then again, I heard this F repeat one more time. So I just copied this over and then rearranged some notes here. Like I got rid of this E, and then I wanted the chord progression to kind of feel like it was going somewhere. So when I copied over this A, I dropped it down a couple notes. And then from here, I heard this F sharp go to this E. I heard that in my head. So then I just built the chord backwards, if that makes sense, right? So I started with this E, skipped the note, placed one, skipped the note, placed one, just kept going down until I got to here. And like, that's a cool chord, whatever, right? But if I were to keep going note, skip note, it just becomes kind of basic, right? Like, and that just kind of doesn't really fit, in my opinion. Just doesn't really fit. So what I do sometimes, instead of going skip note, I'll go skip, skip note, skip, skip note. Just add some cool color to it, a little cool little, it kind of makes it more unique. And then I took out this C sharp here, and then from here I heard this E to the, I heard this chord into the D here. I heard that in my head, but I heard it have like a lot of tension. So I ended my chord progression how I almost always end my chord progression, which is this kind of chord here with a lot of tension. And basically how you do that is you either pick a top note or like a bottom note, and then instead of going like within the scale, you know, you skip one note in the scale, one note, and then place one in the scale. You kind of just do two notes in between, two notes in between, and just kind of go down and down and down, however big you want the chord to be. And then you get this, which has just a bunch of tension to it, right? And you could do it the reverse way like this, right? Just a lot of tension to it. So that's what I did here. I built it down here, but wasn't the biggest fan of how this sounded. So I just dropped that down by 1/2 step. And then I got rid of this G sharp here, because it just made the chord super, like almost 2/10. But yeah, I always end my progressions with that kind of diminished chord. Really, it's just a bunch of minor thirds stacked on top of each other, but I always end it with that because it adds a lot of tension, and I always make sure it releases, and it kind of, it's like a satisfying loop into the first chord, like that. So that's how the chords kind of started off. And then I tweaked it a little bit here, as you can tell. These are the finished chords. It's the original. This is the finished. And yeah, we can break this down. I had a guy DM me earlier, and he asked me kind of how I make my chord progressions and any tips, and I said don't start with the bass notes. And I kind of wanted to talk on this because you'll hear a lot about people starting on the bass notes, and I feel like that's good, but it kind of limits you, right? As a listener, you're always going to be listening to the high end notes here, right? Like if we'll go back to the original MIDI. The second these come in, your ears immediately jump to this, and it really doesn't matter what's going on here, right? Like, sure, it sounds bad, but like your ears immediately go to this first, right? So yeah, I always build my chord progression starting from the top. Like the top note is the most important note here. And I usually finish with the bass notes at the end. I'll just layer them down or whatever, playing by ear. But yeah, as you can see here, I got rid of this E that used to be here because I felt like it was almost too much. So I got rid of it, right? It sounds cool, but it's almost too much. So I got rid of it. I added this low descending pattern right there. And I felt like in the original chords there wasn't enough of an impact. Or like I felt like this chord here, right there, it needed to be like a super big chord stack. There just wasn't enough between this one and this one. So in the finished chords, you can see that I added some notes here. I added this A and D. And I just added this little C to kind of transition into this E. As you can see here, this one isn't changed. It's the same, but this one, this D moved up a half step, and then this B moved down a half step to just create this really cool, tense sounding chord that then resolves into the first chord like that. Okay, now on to the finished MIDI. It might look complex, but this is actually like super, super simple. It's not that hard to make. I'm just moving the different layers of the MIDI out, and I'll explain what that means later. Okay. So when I make my midis, I either choose to make the top lines within the chords, or I make like 2 to 3 lines outside of the chords, and the chords are just kind of in the background, like at the bottom. And I did a combination of that here. So I have the melody that's in the chords here, as you can see, and then I have some on the top, and I just have a simple bass line here, or like a bottom line there. I've had a bunch of comments and a bunch of DMs asking me kind of how do I start it? How do I start? Right? So what I do is I'll take the original chord progression and then I'll just start moving notes back. Right? I'll just move them back. Like either I'm on one half step here, I'll move them back 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then I'll just move this one back 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, so 12, like that. Or I'll just experiment, right? But that's kind of what you see here. As you can see here, these notes were just moved back, right? This C sharp and A. And then I just heard this line in my head. This C sharp, D, C sharp. And then I just created a simple pattern off it, like that. And then I just looped it. I just repeated it over and over again, right? As you can see here, it's the same pattern, just with a little changes like this descending line here. It's the same pattern here with just a little bit of changes. Same pattern here with a little bit of changes, right? Either you create something like 1 bar or 2 bars long. You just want something that repeats and something you can easily make variations on. Usually if you do that, it turns out beautifully. So yeah, I just copied that over. I made a little bit of changes here, like adding this descending line. I really like to do this pattern where I'll put it halfway through a beat. If you know music theory, it's on the end of the beat, and I'll just place that down over and over, right? You see how it's not on this beat line, which is the lines that coincide with the metronome, right? It doesn't go with the metronome, it's in the middle. So you do that and you just place it, it just creates a really good like rhythm and a really good bounce to it. And then yeah, just repeat it. I heard this in my head, played it over here. This is what I heard. I just heard that in my head, so you know, right, just copied it over. Okay, now onto the top line here. This is actually super inspired by one of my prod homies, Ang15K. He does this pattern where he goes onto 1/3 step, and then he'll make one kind of like a descending pattern for 2 beats that are just consist of 3 notes that are 8 long in the 1/3 step. He'll go down and then he'll make a bunch like 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4, right, in the triplet step, and it always sounds beautiful because he'll put a like delay on it, whatever, right? So I kind of took some inspiration on this top line here, but instead of after the 2 beats, I go over to the 1 2 3 4, or like these kind of notes, these shorter notes. I just kept it going with the long notes, just a little descending line, and then it takes this C sharp, which is layered up an octave. There's 2 things going on here, but you can notice this one is just this layered up an octave. And then I have this here, which is on the 1/3 step again, which used to be like this. Kind of taking more inspiration from Ing, where he goes 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4, and then going into the triplets, the short ones, that are just half as long, which is only 4 beats. But then I went over here to the half step and I put in one that's 4 clicks long, and it just creates a really good kind of contrast to it, because one is in like quarter step and the other one is in triplet step, if that makes sense. If you know music theory, you'll know what I'm talking about. This is just a really simple, I mean, this one is just, like I said, this C sharp layered up an octave, but this is just a very common kind of R&B plug-in B lead pattern, which sounds like this by itself. Right, just super common, and I just kind of put it in because I thought it sounded nice. And then this is just very simple, right? I just went over here onto the beat, and I just put down 2 notes, and I just kind of, or 2 clicks, and then I just kind of went with it. Right, it's just a very simple pattern. It's really only there to kind of have like a metronome in the background, but have it be kind of melodic and in the MIDI, if that makes sense, right? It's just something to kind of keep the tempo and have a good pulse throughout the entire MIDI. Right, just a really good pulse throughout the whole thing. But yeah, that is just a breakdown of kind of how I make my MIDIs. Let me know if y'all want more of this, because, you know, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of fun. I do have plans for more high quality tutorials, but I just got so many requests and DMs and comments about, you know, asking me how I make my MIDIs, everything like that, right? So if you don't know me, my name's cryangel. I post a lot on TikTok, and I actually just hit 1K over there. So I just dropped my 1K MIDI kit. It is in the link in the description in my guns.lol page. So yeah, thanks for watching.